disaster must come. At best, only postponed. Shaolin Kung Fu, to survive, must now be taught to more young men.
Welcome once again to another episode of Fists, Kicks, and Flicks, the podcast about martial arts, movies, and life. I am one of your hosts, Eugene Plowden, and with me as always, my podcast partners, Joe Hartley and Angel Diaz. What's up, fellas?
What's up?
What's up?
If this is your first time with us, I want you to know we are members of the Martial Arts Internet Network. On Tuesdays, you got the Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. Thursdays is us, Fists, Kicks, and Flicks with Gene, Joe, and Angel.
On Wednesdays, we have the traditional way with Brett Shumway. And once every month, we got the extra scoop with Peyton Fender and Jeff Dawes.
For more information, you can check us out on all of our social media platforms. Just look for the Martial Arts Internet Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. Fellas, it's showtime. What's going on? Now, let's get into the movie. Universal Soldier: The Return. What did you guys think of this movie?
I can tell you what I thought.
Does Terminator?
I could tell you what I thought, and then I could also tell you what the consensus of everyone has been about the movie. Which one do you want?
Either or, it doesn't matter.
I'm not gonna say one of my favorites in terms of storyline and any of that stuff. I think in terms of just you always want to see those two matched up in a movie together. I enjoyed seeing that. Fight scenes were they weren't the best, but they weren't the worst. You could tell Jean-Claude Van Damme wasn't able to do a lot of his theatrical tricks as he normally would. You could see
what
that.
year did this come out? Because he looked
97, 98, 99, around there.
Okay, I was thinking it was 98, but I wasn't sure. I didn't.
Yeah, it was like around there. So, and I like Goldberg's presence in it. Actually, I kind of like Goldberg's presence in it.
I didn't like his one-liners. Like, I don't like that type of stuff.
That was my thing. He's not. You know what though? But
Yeah.
This is my thing, and I think it fits Goldberg now that we look back at it, because even in all his matches, he was never known for having long matches because that's not his thing. He actually gets worse the longer the match goes on.
Yes.
He is a type of guy that he's going to blitz you with everything in 30-second to 3-minute time span, and that's it. It's done and over with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it fits him now that we look back on it. Now, what it was known for in the 90s, it's known as one of the 16 worst movies of the decade.
It definitely seemed like it was a low.
No, that's what people have. Like, people have ranked it as like one of the 16 worst. Rotten Tomatoes, I think it had like a 2.4.
I didn't think it was bad. I like the idea of the movie. It just had it definitely had that 90s feel to it when you watch it.
Yeah.
Gene, I already said this was Terminator. This was Terminator. That's all this was.
I agree. Let me ask you.
It had its own spin on it. There was no coming from the future and everything, but for the most part, it was Terminator.
Is Jean-Claude Van Damme, is he married? You guys
a couple
know?
Times.
Did he ever marry somebody that was like a reporter or something? Because Jesus, every single movie he's trying to fuck a reporter.
We'll have to look into that. We'll have to look into that. You're not wrong.
I was like, does he got a fetish for reporters? Like, every time it's a reporter and they're just gonna tag along with them, and he's okay with it. That's what I was thinking. I was like, another reporter, and she won't get away from it. He's telling her to leave multiple times, and she won't leave.
The beautiful mind of Eugene Plowden. I swear to God. Always are asking the hard questions. I love it. How did I know? The second you said that, I'm like, oh my God, he's so right. I can come up with 6 movies already in my head.
Oh yeah, he did. I mean, basically almost every single one he was famous for. Basically, I'm not trying to be funny. Like, it really was like Double Impact, Death Warrant, all those.
He probably has his wife do that around the house, like, be the reporter today. Come home, let's role play.
Nah, Gene, you're wild, bro. Gene, you're wild, bro. Gene, you're wild. You're wild, bro.
He's like, honey, I need you to interview me today.
There you go, Joe. If we're ever at a Comic-Con and he's there signing, let's ask him. Let's ask him. I was like, "What's your thing with reporters? Like, you got a thing for him or something?"
You're gonna ask him. I'm not taking no roundhouse kick to the face.
I'll take a roundhouse kick from him so I can sue him. Like, I would love to do that. I'm an instant millionaire. What are you talking about? I'll take that. Go ahead, buddy.
Hey, let me ask y'all.
Spinning split kick right to your face.
Did you guys like that they continued the story?
I like that, but it didn't make sense. How did he get become normal? This isn't Dragon Ball where you can wish androids into real people.
You can. No, the android. So actually, we're gonna need to talk about this right now, so that way the premise for the rest of them are pretty spot on, right?
Okay, but wasn't he a dead soldier, and then they bring him back with this program?
Yep.
And now he's alive and not a robot? Like, how did that work?
No, that's what I'm saying. I was about to explain it. That's what I was trying to tell you. Like so it is the thing. He was the first of its
down the road. It's going to get explained.
Kind of, but if we don't answer it now, the question will still be there because there's going to be a big time gap between this one and the next movie we watch. And it even discusses that in the next movie that there's going to be a huge time gap.
Well,
they didn't really talk about the time gap between this one and the last one, did they? They didn't say how many years it had been, did they?
No, they just said it's been a while, and he was like, living life. Basically, what it is that the android, like the computer that controlled him, he overrided it in a sense. Like he was the first of its kind. So as we always talk about, like in anything, like sometimes the first of its kind is gonna be different. Like it may be the more generic, or it may be more true to itself, whatever. Mm-hmm. So all of the androids after him were built to not have his flaws. He still had human emotion. He still had some of those things, right? Mm-hmm. And when they brought him back, one of the flaws was he would still get flashbacks of what actually happened and how he died. That's been the thing that's been the thing that's stuck with him like his whole time. So when they created all the other super soldiers or unisoldiers, I think they called them, they created them so that they didn't have access to their previous memory bank. It was wiped. They only had the memories that they gave them, or any directions that were given to them by the computer.
Okay.
So was his wife the girl from the first one?
Like in real life, or in the
in this movie, was his wife supposed to be the girl from the first movie?
No, I think it was. I think it was, right?
Yeah.
Or no.
Yeah. I think it was supposed to be. They didn't really go into they didn't really go into details at all.
They just showed him looking at her picture, but I thought it was her.
Yeah,
I did too. So. I did too. I just assumed because why else? But they didn't even explain what happened to her. Just she was dead.
But this is the reason why they kind of couldn't. They kind of couldn't. So what happened was when they came out with Universal Soldier 2 or 3 or 2 and 3 or whatever it was, whatever movie was in the middle between the first one with Jean-Claude Van Damme and this one, they kept it going, but it wasn't the same actors. Like nobody was the same.
Oh, so that was still the same character, but just not them playing it.
Yeah. So what they had to do was, now this storyline, it only connects Jean-Claude Van Damme when he was in them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So kind of like the second one is almost like a spin-off where it doesn't exist. Like it's its own movie. This is like truly the sequel to the first one, even though it's the third movie. It's a dumb premise, right? But the reason why I say that is because when we do the next one and the last one, they all have Jean-Claude Van Damme in it, and they all continue with the storyline.
That's basically what they did with Fast and Furious. The second one, had Brian, but it didn't have everyone else. They kept it going.
Too Fast, Too Furious. That's the thing. Too Fast, Too Furious at least connected Tyrese and everyone in with this one, right?
Later,
this Universal Soldier is not going to connect nobody. It's the second one is its own, and it's like it's forgotten about. It's like it's whatever.
What did you guys think about Michael Jai White's performance in this movie?
One,
you can tell it's one of his first.
And then second, I thought he was just going to be a computer voice the whole time. But then I just watching this, I missed his body at the beginning. I mean, it was his back, but you could still tell it was him.
I liked it. Honestly,
It was
because
fine.
you could tell it was when he was like first starting out. Like this was right after this was his next movie role after he did Tyson, right?
Oh, I'm not sure, but I figured Tyson was his first one. That was the first thing I seen him in. Was
I think Tyson was 95,
yeah,
right?
that
And then
that
this
sounds
was
about
like,
right.
so this is like his first one after, or second or third one after. So he's like getting his feet wet into Hollywood, and for him to be put on with Jean-Claude Van Damme at that time, it was a big deal.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But you know what? When I was looking at him, it kind of reminded me, now what they can do in movies, when it comes to CGI, they can de-age you. And that's what I kept thinking, like, he looks like Michael Jai White de-aged, but not in a good way. Like, it looked like a bad de-aging, even though I know that was really how he looked. Like, he looked, and I think it was his facial expressions that he was making, because he was trying to, be like a robot or android. But it was kind of throwing me off because I'm so used to him looking how he looks now, that when I was seeing him, it just looked weird. It looked funny.
Yes, I agree.
But yeah, it was interesting, right? And just the whole premise of the movie was just I like the idea. I think the storyline and everything was the right idea. And
Yeah.
I think in that term, it was the right idea. And me knowing exactly where it's gonna lead into, it's gonna be pretty good in terms of storyline. I think now it's just execution. That's just the hardest part. But
Okay.
at that time, Jean-Claude Van Damme was going through stuff. So who knows if he was at his best.
All right. Let's give us a summary, Joe.
I mean, so the movie starts off. Basically, they want us to believe at the beginning of this movie that Jean-Claude Van Damme. I assumed he was just still a robot before I knew that. So he's running away from what definitely is robots, or androids, whatever you want to call them, and they seem upgraded from his original version. But they also have a voice in their head. So it took me a minute to figure out, like, because later on they show us there's like this big AI that they have in the building that's running the program, and it's Michael Jai White's voice. And what do they call him? Seth?
Yes, that's his name, Seth.
Yeah, it's like, it looks all complicated. It's big and blue, and it runs like a computer, and it's got something spinning, and they did a good job making us think like this AI is smart and everything. And then on top of that, we start to learn that the beginning of this was this company making new universal soldier, or unisoldiers, as they're saying. And Jean-Claude Van Damme's character, what's his name? Leroy or something like that?
Frank Devereaux.
Devereaux. I was way
Luke Devereaux.
Yeah,
Luke Devereaux.
Luke
Sorry,
Devereaux.
not Frank.
I knew it started with an L. That's how you were throwing me
I thought
off.
it was Frank.
Anyhow,
My bad.
So he's kind of at the forefront of all this because he's been through this program. Apparently now he's no longer one of them, but he's trying to see how he holds up against them in a training session. That's what the beginning of this whole movie is. And then you got Bill Goldberg as one of they call him Romeo. He's kind of the main unisoldier, and then you just got a bunch of other pawns out there. And I mean, they show, after the training session, they show them working on and fixing up the damage that was done to all these unisoldiers, and they go into a chamber to heal and charge whatever they have to do. So they got a whole new system and upgraded, and it all runs in this company, and it all runs around the AI Seth. Like I said, Terminator. There's no way this can go wrong. I know there's a lot of differences, but basically it's Terminator. You got a AI, it gets too smart, it's learning, and then it wants to take over at some point. And we find out why it wants to take over, because a couple scenes later, there's a group talking. They're talking out what's next, what to do, how the training went, and all this stuff. And the military wants to shut the whole thing down.
Wants to cut it.
Yeah, and the AI overhears this, and now he's got something to say about it. And I mean, that's basically the idea of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really. There
The
it
second
is.
he takes over, the second that Seth takes over, like they shut down the facility. Now, here's the other part that got me. Why are you bringing your kid to a place? This place is dangerous. You should not be bringing your kid. I
Not
don't
only
care
that,
what protocols you got in place. Your kid should not be within 100 yards of this damn building.
and not only
Especially
that,
because
the
the day
AI
before,
was his babysitter, was her babysitter.
yes,
Yeah.
the AI was the babysitter, but not just the first before they shut it down, one of the Unisoldiers attacks him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Was it
yes, I
Romeo or
would not.
no?
No, it was a different one.
Yeah. He went
And
crazy for some
Now,
reason.
yeah,
now the other thing is once they shut down the facility, Seth takes controls of all the Unisouls, and he inputs a chip in their head, and where he's
he
able to
starts making new
control.
ones. He starts making new
Yeah,
ones too.
and he's able to control all of their actions, all from the base. So he could send them out. He could see everything they're doing, and he could control them all from right from the
Yeah,
military
he's
base.
in their head. Like they take
Yeah,
command from him, and then of course, at one point, Seth was taking command from some of the other people, but now he's decided nope, they're all a threat. So now he's shut them out, and
Killed some of them.
he's taken over. Yep. And I mean, see, that's the thing. Like in Terminator, you had the Terminators, and then the only thing like the Skynet could do was like send a vacuum or a toaster after you. This is worse because this is literally you're sending 10, 12, 25 androids that are killing machines. So that's a problem.
What's
now let me
crazy is
ask.
they didn't think that it was a bad idea that these things can't really be stopped. It's going to be hard because you just can't shoot them and they're going to stop. They're going to
Nope.
because they're already dead. They fall down, they wait a second, and then they could just get right back up and keep coming after you. Nobody stopped to
Yes.
think that maybe we should not give them that ability.
Or
It makes sense.
usually in
I mean, go ahead, Joe.
usually in this situation to control things, you have like a kill switch or something.
Yeah.
You got some kind of button, some kind of
They
EMP.
did have the
Yeah,
kill
sure.
switch. The problem was Seth. You had to get to Seth to put in the kill switch.
No, you need a kill switch to kill all the androids, not
Oh
Seth.
no, I know. That's what I'm saying. Though they had it, they just didn't do it the right way.
Yeah.
They
To
implemented
shut
it the
down
wrong.
Seth can control everything. So of course you're not gonna be able to shut Seth down. But Seth only got as far as he did because he had 25 Unisoldiers at his disposal. You take those out of the equation, he couldn't do much of anything from just sitting in the building.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that makes sense. Like in terms of like why they wanted them to have that ability. If you're using it for war, I mean, it makes sense in
Yeah.
that sense, right? But like,
Oh yeah,
obviously,
25
you have to always,
Unisoldiers could take on
yeah,
a whole army.
yeah. But you
No
obviously you have to
problem.
wonder in case it turns back on you.
Yeah, that was my thinking, Angel.
What did you guys think about? So there's like two fight scenes I thought that were important, at least in my mind. But the fight scenes I thought were important was the first one was Goldberg and Luke. What did you guys think about that fight scene?
Are you talking about the fight scene that was at the very, very beginning of the movie or later on?
Later on, not the one in the beginning.
So it was weird because you knew that he wasn't going to kill him because Seth had gave the orders like not to kill him.
Because he had a code that would help Seth.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And because he killed the other guy who had the only other guy who had the code.
Yep.
So I mean, that's the only reason.
What did you think about
I didn't really care for it, honestly.
Really?
It's another one of those things where if a wrestler is in a movie, they're gonna make the wrestler do wrestler moves.
You don't like
You
that,
know?
or no, you do?
I don't really care for that too often.
But that's the whole point of what makes them want to be in the movie, though.
That's what makes but that as somebody that's watching it, I don't really enjoy it. I know that they're a wrestler. I know that. But when I see The Rock in a movie, I don't need to see him do a rock bottom on a
He does that
car
every
in real
time
life.
too.
I
I
was gonna
know,
say,
like
but you know he's gonna do one every time.
I don't need to see him do that. And Hulk Hogan used to do that also when he used to be in his movies. Like he would pick somebody up and throw them. It's like I don't because if you're if you're Sylvester Stallone, you're not doing that type of stuff. They're just gonna give you a creative way of
Nah,
fighting.
if you're Sylvester Stallone, you're always gonna be punching for some reason.
Right. But he's not gonna be, he's not gonna go out of his way. They're not gonna give him a particular wrestling move to do.
They
Because
give him a boxing move, whatever.
to me it looks fake. Like if you're in a real life fight situation, you're not doing wrestling moves in a real life situation. That's what I'm getting at. And
I
they
got
only
you. I
do it
got you.
and they only do that with wrestlers when wrestlers are in movies. So I personally don't really like that. Just give them another fight scenes,
Bro,
choreography to
but
do.
how good
I
would it
got
be
you.
if you were in a real fight and you gave someone a DDT? Come on, that'd be great.
If I did that, if I gave somebody a DDT,
They'll break the damn skull.
yeah, exactly. I would damn near kill him. Then I got a whole nother set of problems. A whole nother set of problems I'm gonna have. I'm gonna be up in the courthouse. I don't want to go there. I don't want to
Pick
do
him
that.
up, but give him a suplex. Bam! Don't mess with
And
me.
I would honestly say, like, you let me do that? Like, you didn't bite my rib or nothing. You really, you didn't try and slam me. You didn't try to flip me over. You really just held it and just let me drop you on your head. That's crazy.
Oh man. What this squid guy that they brought in with the blue hair kind of looked like
Yeah.
Seth Green, but I mean, I don't know who he was in real life. Um what was he sounded like he worked at the company at some point.
Yeah, and he got fired, right, Angel? That guy got fired, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what did they say he got fired for? Like he was trying to push things too
I
much or
did not.
something?
I didn't understand why he got fired.
It sounded like he was just going off the rails or something. And but the problem was he had a back door to the facility, and Seth knew about it. So Seth used him to help him. Actually, there was a body, a perfect body, supposedly and it was Michael Jai White's body that Seth wanted, and Seth used Squid and some of the other androids to help him put implantation, basically take his AI mind and put it in this body, this perfect body, as they called it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that was basically the whole idea of Seth once he became more self-aware and learning. And now he's got a mobile unit. He can pretty much go anywhere. So now he's got the brains and the brawn. We're in trouble, you know?
Mhm.
Now, my biggest complaint about that is you got two in our day and age. Like at this time, we didn't know much about Michael Jai White, but now that I do, I would have liked to see in a nice fight scene with him and Jean Claude. But
They
instead,
did.
because he's a no, they didn't. He had a hardcore android, so he had to kill him as soon as he could. Otherwise, he would have died himself. All he
Their
did is
fight
kick
scene
him.
was pretty good.
They didn't really
Well,
have much of a fight scene. He got him in the ice. He froze him, and then he shot him.
I see what he's saying. Like Joe, because Michael Jai White Angel is a for real martial artist, but he wasn't known to Hollywood at that time as to be a real martial artist. If they were to do this movie now, the fight scenes between him and John Claude Van Damme would be totally different. I think
Yes,
it'll be.
that's what I'm trying to
I
say.
think it'll be. I think it'll be way different. And I get it. But like he was new at that time. They didn't know
Yeah,
what
I
he could
agree.
and couldn't do. So
I agree.
I understand. I think it
they
could
didn't
have
lean
been
into
a
it a little
lot
bit
more
more.
epic, but like you're right. I mean, they didn't really know. So, but I mean, he had to know a little bit something.
No, he definitely did because he did some aerial stuff. He did a couple of jump kicks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
but I just think I agree. It would have been different and better if this movie was done now, and if they were a little bit younger, of course. Well, especially John Claude. John Claude, if he was younger at this point, it'd be better. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall,
I thought that fight scene was pretty good. Ah, my light turned off.
I guess I was just because, like I said, we know now what we can get with Michael Jai White. I think it could have just. I would like to see something a little more. To me,
hmm
this would have been better. But I mean, for the most part, it was fine. You know, I thought
I was thinking like he can't beat him.
no, he
That's
knew
what I
that.
was
That's
thinking.
why he had to
Yeah,
do what he did. That's why he
yeah,
had to freeze him and shoot him.
right.
Because otherwise, it was going to be a bad day.
But yeah, as I'm watching the movie, I didn't think I was like, well, he is a more superior android than Luke is. I didn't understand how he was going to beat him because he wasn't faster or stronger than him. So that was kind of creative to do it with the ice.
I mean, he had to come up with something because that was the only way it was going to work.
Right. And the way they did the CGI at the end was kind of, you could tell like it would look a lot better if it was done now. Like it looked pretty amateurish, you know, compared
So,
to what we
Angel,
see nowadays.
does the next movie, you said it does a time skip, but it still kind of is the same?
Yeah.
Up.
So this is the thing with the next movie, and I'm gonna be honest. I think out of all of them, in terms of actors, I like this was like my favorite just because they had those two actors, right? In
Mhm.
terms of acting and like a good storyline and like good fight scenes, this next one's my favorite. So
Okay,
this
this is
next one,
regeneration, right? Regeneration.
yeah, it should be. Let me just make sure on my end that that's what it should be. Sorry, let me look at it right now. So it should be this next one has Andrei Arlovsky as main protagonist. Um, I don't want to surprise. I don't want to surprise like who else is going to be in there. And then you got John Claude Van Damme. And this next one, it has the time skip, so it has like the 10 years or 11 years, whatever, right? That there is in between, but it actually like talks about what happened in those years. I'm not gonna say it talks about it like greatly, but at least it shows like obviously there's a time lapse and like what happened in this time lapse. You know what I mean?
All right.
So it's
So
actually pretty good. It's like one of my favorites, to be honest with you.
so let me ask you this, Angel, because you
Yeah.
obviously have watched the whole thing in this whole series. Um, with Jean Claude Van Damme's character Luke Devereaux being a Unisoul, he's technically not alive, but he is alive, right? But is he aging in these movies because he's
So that's
technically
the
dead?
thing. I think they weren't. He wasn't supposed to age, and
Okay,
I think they actually talk about that in the next movie. I
okay.
think.
This one that's coming up, Regeneration, or the one
Yeah,
after that?
yeah. I think they talk about that, and if not that they talk about it, they explain because realistically, he's like 50 or 60 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
But he
mean,
Well,
may look
actually,
like he's
he should be older than that because he was in Vietnam.
yeah, but he looks like he's like 40 or
Right,
whatever.
right,
You know
right,
what I
right,
mean?
right.
So like I think they talk about that and like in the next movie, the biggest thing that it talks about is how is he trying to cope with having an everyday life now.
Okay.
That's
okay.
what this next movie is. And then everyone's gonna see how that still gets turned upside down. So that's why I like this next one because it has some pretty good like I'm not gonna like I think I said it before. It's not about like the storyline is like super great and everything, um, but the storyline is really good. The acting may be a little iffy, but what it is though is the fight scenes are actually pretty solid. And I'm looking at it right now. So this was 2009 Universal Soldier Regeneration,
All right.
Okay.
That should be interesting.
and
What grade are we giving this one?
Okay.
ooh, so that's a good one. That's a good one. I've been thinking about this for a minute now.
Yeah, I have too. I've been thinking about it since I finished watching it. But honestly, like it wasn't a lot of stupid things, and I didn't really have a lot to complain about. It was just kind of like it was a '90s movie, and it just kind of had that '90s feel to it. Plus, it felt like I don't think this came in the theater, right? This was a low budget movie, right? It went right to video, right?
I thought it was in theater.
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I think
I don't
so. I
remember. I
thought it
don't remember
was.
this. It's
I
it's
mean, I
it,
Yeah,
it,
wouldn't.
it
I
doesn't
don't
seem
remember.
it doesn't seem like
I
it.
was just born. I was just born. I
Okay.
wouldn't know.
It doesn't seem like it, but I'm gonna go with a C. I mean,
Okay.
it wasn't that bad. You know, it wasn't
That's
the
fine.
best,
I
but
was looking at C plus. So
okay.
You guys are a little bit
I'd
lower
watch
than
it
what I
again.
was gonna go.
Well, that's fine.
I used Gene's grading criteria on this one. Like if I saw it on, would I stop to watch it? And I was like, yeah, I definitely would. So I was like, I would go like B minus B, anywhere between there.
That's
C
fine.
plus. I really thought about going C plus. I think the only reason I think I'm a little bit more biased just because it had the actors that I like in it. So I think that's what pushed it over the edge for me.
I think that's what brought me up to a C plus.
So that's what I had though.
All right.
All
Anything
right, so
else, guys?
Regeneration. That's the next one, right?
Yeah, Universal
Regeneration.
Soldier, Regeneration.
All right,
Anything else?
No, I'm good.
No, that's it.
All right, everybody stay safe. Stay strong. We'll holler at you next week, and I will play our music.
Disaster must come. At best, only postponed. Shaolin Kung Fu, to survive, must now be taught to more young men.